Hello, hello. If everybody could please take your seats so we can get started on time, please. Thank you. There's a few more people filing in. I'll wait until everybody takes their seats. All right, I think we are just about ready to go. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your coffee. It looks like we're missing someone. Anybody know where Gabby went? Okay, it's fine. Anyways, hospitality is one of the most human-centric industries, and ironically, it's traditionally known for providing intensive work that does not meet current labor demands. Employers' antagonists, resignation, is now joined by a sneakier accomplice, quiet quitting. In this panel, discover the construction and upkeep of a strong company culture and its renovation amidst a storm. To lead this discussion, we have Dr. Sowon Kim, Associate Professor of Leadership and Intercultural Management. She has over 20 years of experience in academic institutions and private companies. For our first speaker on this panel, we have Ms. Xenia Zhu Hohenlohe, the co-founder and director of Considerate Group. She has over 25 years of experience in hospitality and has managed hotels throughout the world. Next up, we have Philippe Roux-Dessarps, the Regional Vice President and General Manager at Four Seasons Astor Palace Hotels in Athens. He is an EHL alumni and has worked in the industry across the globe. Last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Yves Givel, the Senior Vice President of Human Resources for Europe, Africa, Middle East, and at Hyatt Corporation. Once upon a time, Dr. Yves and Philippe actually were in the same EHL class.
That's a heartwarming story.
10 years ago.
You wish.
Please give it up for our wonderful panelists to start the discussion.
Well, we'll kick it off right away. Thank you so much for being here with us. So my first question to the three of you. Global signals trends have a direct impact in industries. Recently, EHL has identified 4 main global signals that matter most in our hospitality industry that will drive changes in companies. These include purpose-driven, blurring boundaries, automation, and individualization and personalization. At a time when the only certainty is uncertainty, our hybrid, digitalized, and increasingly AI-driven world, everyone is obsessed with ChatGPT, we heard before, reminds us of our sense of humanity and greater sense of purpose, and thus pursuing endeavors with sustainability. If before it was all about customer centricity, today it is all about human centricity and the importance of human interaction. To start with, what is human centricity, human interaction for you? And how can these core concepts be lived, operationalized in a company? And can you give concrete examples?
You sure you want me to start? Can I?
Of course, please.
Okay. So I have to get up for this here. Are you guys up for a little exercise? God, I can't see anything here. Do you mind if I come down here? So what I'd like you to do is just all stand up and look for a partner. Just look for a partner. Just to be safe, partner means 2 people, right? So look for a partner. And then I want you to sit down again, opposite each other, looking at each other. Just sit down. opposite your partner. Turn the chairs towards each other. And then I'm going to explain you the method to my madness. It's very difficult to describe what human centricity it is. And I thought I want to try and make you feel what human centricity means and why it is so important for us. During this exercise, for which I only have 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you 4 minutes. I'm going to ask you at one stage to look at each other. And in between, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. When I ask you to look at each other, please don't giggle. Just look at each other. Okay? You up for it? Good. Let's all take a nice deep breath. Just breathe into your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. Close your eyes if you're up for it. If you feel dizzy when you close your eyes, you can also just lower your gaze. And then become aware there's a person in front of you. Now open your eyes and look at your partner. And then close your eyes again. This person in front of me has a body and a mind, just like me. This person in front of me has feelings, emotions and thoughts, just like me. This person in front of me has in his or her life experienced physical and emotional suffering, just like me. This person in front of me has at some point been sad, disappointed, angry, or hurt, just like me. This person in front of me worries and is frightened sometimes, just like me. This person in front of me wants fulfilling relationships and love, just like me. This person in front of me wishes to be happy, just like me. Now open your eyes again, look at your partner, and then close your eyes again. And now, allow some wishes to arise. I wish that this person in front of me has the strength, resources, and social support to navigate the difficulties in life. I wish for this person in front of me to be happy and loved. Because this person is a fellow human being, just like me. Take another nice deep breath, and then open your eyes again. How does that feel? This is what human centricity is for me. It's about the connection we can have with people. Give your partner a hug and sit down again.
Five minutes.
Thank you for that, youth. Thank you for that.
So I think adding to what you're feeling right now, if you were to welcome a guest in this state of mind that you've just been put into, your interaction would be a lot more genuine, right? I think what we need to remind ourselves, and that's where human centricity comes back in, Sowon, right? Is anybody in this room Greek? No, you live in Athens. So My name, funnily enough, Xenia, is a Greek name, and it means the spirit of hospitality. Irony, right? So my parents chose my career for me. But the point being, in ancient Greece, and one of the cardinal sins you could commit, for which Zeus would come down and punish you and burn you, whatever, was if you disregarded the spirit of Xenia, the spirit of hospitality. We're all in this because I'd like to think that we believe in the spirit of hospitality. We want to share what we have to give, which is part of us, but it's also part of where we are, of our culture, of our traditions. And I think that's what we often forget in this business, we're so anxious about pleasing the client, about preempting what the client wants. We forget that our staff and our team have got a lot to transmit, that they're in there for the passion of being hospitality professionals, of transmitting that spirit, of why people travel. Why do we travel? Yes, of course, we have to travel for business, but even then, yesterday I checked into a hotel here, and that comes back to digitalization. We're unfortunately nowhere close to being able to digitalize the check-in process in a lot of hotels. This girl could have actually spent 5 minutes talking to me rather than doing paperwork, clipping her paper together, making sure, typing it all in. That was not efficient. That's not human-centric. So I think we need to use the best of automation to be able to bring the human person back into the process of what hospitality means and what hospitality should be. That's my take on it.
So my parents named me Philippe, which means like horses. And I chose hospitality. I've always been a rebel with my parents. I'm delighted to be here, not only because I sat in this room with Yves 34 years ago and had some outstanding parties, but it's always nice to come back to YHS. It's always a pleasure. So human centricity is a very interesting topic. As soon as I got the invite, I think within an hour I said, I'm coming. And I wanted to highlight two things. The first thing, ever since I graduated from Lausanne and I got my diploma in this room in 1992, hospitality has evolved tremendously. And I think the work environment has shifted. It used to be, I'm going to speak like an old man, but I am, so I can. It used to be a job was a job. And okay, you were not just doing 9 to 5 in working in hospitality, but you were working to have a career and you were working to get a paycheck at the end of the month and extract some sort of satisfaction. Now, jobs have to provide much more than this. And we see that at Four Seasons and general in hospitality. There's an expectation from people like you who are going to be in the job market very soon or who are already. There's an expectation that a job will provide much more than just a place to work and a paycheck and a little bit of satisfaction in a day. A job is here to provide a lot more. I feel as a leader in an organization, I'm oftentimes the therapist for employees. I have to be listening and I have to be an ear to the employees. We have to provide a lot more than just a job. And by the way, I love that part of my job. That's one of the parts that I enjoy the most. So think about it, that work has to provide much more. And there's that expectation, which is fantastic. So there is definitely a greater demand for that human centricity. And secondly, coming back to the company that I work with, Four Seasons, for 61 years has been built on the foundation of the golden rule. And the golden rule is treat others as you would want to be treated. And that statement is real. It's not a writing on a wall. It's exercised and it's used in every decision that we make. And that rule is not 61 years old. That rule exists for millennia. If you think about it, most religion, actually all religions, are based on that principle that you should treat others as you would want to be treated. So it's deeply rooted in us. And this is how the culture of the company has been built, and this is what has brought the success of the company. So human centricity is not new, but it's truly emerging as a driving force in companies.
Thank you very much for that. So I love the fact that we actually started with a physical exercise. I'm just now so calm and so zen. I don't know whether you're feeling the harmony. And it seems to sort of like synthesize human centricity is about that human connection, which can be articulated as treating others as you want to be treated. And that also includes to basically share part of you, that spirit of hospitality. Thank you. Let's move on to the second question. As travel picked up fast post the pandemic, this has been a rude wake-up call for hoteliers who faced massive labor shortage. Employees have not returned because they found better opportunities elsewhere, or they were disenchanted with how they have been treated for a long time in this industry. While turnover is not new in our industry, the issue of labor shortage has taken new heights. What might explain this long-standing gap of our industry known as a people's industry versus the inability to treat people with dignity? And what are some of the creative solutions that you have as a company developed and executed or witnessed to cope with this labor shortage challenge? Unless you have not experienced, still, what have you done that enabled you not to experience the labor shortage?
Shall I start, if I may?
Please.
I think, so we're a consultancy, right? We're a sustainability consultancy. Juliette mentioned that earlier, which obviously means we work around issues around the environment as much as around people. We ourselves went through a B Corp certification process. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. It's a very stringent certification around sustainable indexes. And within that, the two key areas where you get asked the most question is workers and people. We were very small when we started our company. We were only 2 people when we started the company in 2012, and sustainability was our key thing. So I thought we would sail through this certification, but I had underestimated how much it really means to build up from scratch this issue around people and workers. Anyway, we got through it. We have a lot of people joining us now because they want to work for B Corp, because B Corp requires you to look after your staff in a more proactive way and continuously make sure that they grow and that they get treated in the right way. So we've translated that onto a lot of the projects that we do for hotels. And I think the hotels that I see, and so I can say that, we work with Four Seasons, we work with Ruby Hotels, we work with Hoxton. So we have a wide set of different companies where I can compare. And I think it's the hotels groups where they really they allow their teams to take a lot of the leadership that have been the most successful. The younger disruptive brands that have understood that it's not just about stiff service, it's really about authenticity of the staff. And then, so when you and I, we did a little bit of a study and an experiment about female workers in the hotel industry. So at entry level, there was 50-50. But when we get to the higher ranks, sadly, female representation in hotel management is very low. And that's because raising a family and running a hotel is still very incompatible because the structures that we have are incompatible. So it was very much looking at how can you restructure, how can you integrate things like, do I have a breastfeeding room for women in the hotel? Do I allow my staff to use the kids club if I have a kids club where they can put their children? Do I think, all of these things were not considered to be kosher. And they were not considered that it was something you could do. But there are a lot of structures within a hotel, when you look at back of house, when you look at activities, that you actually can restructure to be a more welcoming hotel company. So I really encourage everybody to sort of, and that's what we've done, is really say people are as important as the environment, because only the people will make sure that the environment gets healed again. So the people are also important in a business. Make them your sort of central part of your sustainability strategy as much as the environment is. And in those cases, we've seen a very successful turnaround.
Thank you.
I will, yeah. Very, very interesting, and I echo that sentiment that I think hotels or organizations that have a culture that is truly aligned with that human centricity are the ones that are going to be successful. And in parallel, I think the challenge of finding staff is probably the biggest crisis hospitality has encountered in the past decades. And this is the true problem that needs to be resolved. And it starts here at EHL. And I think in some shape or form, EHL has a responsibility to assist. And that's why I'm here. And working with the EHL Alliance and other partners in EHL, we have to solve that problem. The kitchen is always going to be a tough environment to work in. You're always going to have a fryer, you're always going to have gas, and you're always going to have sharp knives. How do we make sure that the kitchen is an environment that is conducive to work and that is somewhat comfortable? I think we have to bring back the passion in hospitality and drive with passion. I've decided when I was 14 years old that I was going to work in hospitality, and I decided I was going to come to EHL, and I haven't changed my mind since then. And so sadly, there's less and less people who have that necessarily focus, and that's okay. But I think hospitality as a whole has to resolve that issue and find a way to be more attractive. And I agree that we have to meet halfway sometimes. Now, interestingly, yesterday I got an email from a headhunter who's helping me find one of the senior leaders in my organization. And he said, listen, this lady will come to work if you let her bring her dog twice a day in the office. Now, what do you do with that? Because if I let her in marketing bring her dog, then in essence, every employee will be able to bring their dogs at work. That includes the front desk clerks, the bell attendants, and the chefs. So how do we reconcile this? Most of my employees in Athens have visible tattoos. Now, 20 years ago, in a Four Seasons, this would have been completely unheard of. Now it's kind of cool, and some of them have really cool and neat tattoos. It doesn't bother anyone, and our guests, particularly enjoy it. Now, these are small details. I'm not saying this is what truly moves the needle. These are all small details, but small details add up and make the stories. As far as we're concerned, we're a seasonal hotel. We employ 350 employees in the winter and about 1,000 in the summer. Every year we onboard 600 employees, and we offboard them in November at the end of the season. So right now, this week, we're onboarding hundreds of people. Luckily, 82% of the last summer employees have rejoined this year, so it makes our recruiting efforts easier. So we haven't quite suffered from that issue. And I think, I'm sorry I'm eating on my 2 minutes, but I think what has worked, and not thanks to me, but the whole team, is another tenet of Four Seasons, which is be you. And we want people to be themselves. And I know a long time ago people thought, oh, Four Seasons, everything is scripted. Well, it's not. We want people to be themselves. And when it comes to Athens, we've unlocked the piece where people need to bring their personality at work. And you know what? They're a lot of fun. And it's a resort. We're there to have fun. And on the first day of onboarding, I tell all of them, don't forget to have fun, because our guests are also here to have fun. So unlocking that piece where people can bring their personality at work, I think is one of the solution, is one of the way that we can entertain that passion to come to work, and that we can somewhat prevent this erosion of workforce.
I think you're eating into my 2 minutes here. Just walking down memory lane. I remember 3 years ago, I walked out of a big conference in Dubai where we had 600 of our most senior leaders in the region. And it was literally the last meeting we did before the world changed. And 4 months later, 80% of my 180 hotels were closed. And we started at a very early stage. We started to ask people, you want to go on unpaid leave? Are you okay to do job sharing? Are you okay to reduce your hours? Do you want to take a sabbatical? And human centricity works if it's all encompassing. We were very, very lucky. We have fabulous owners. And sorry my word, I'm bitching a lot about our owners. But when the stakes were down, human centricity also meant that our owners worked with us. We tried to get through the pandemic in retaining as many people as we could. Still, labor shortages, everybody had them at the end. There's no way around it. I think we struggled like everybody else in finding people. We had to start working differently. We had to start working smarter. And we had to learn and to stop managing a 21st century workforce with 20th century managing practices. Because that's unfortunately what many of us were taught at the time. But things have changed. Workplace flexibility. People want to work from home. People want to have flexibility in choosing their shifts. If you want to strengthen your female leadership pipeline, you have to provide the benefits for it. You have to allow flexibility. We had a conference 3 months ago in November in Zurich, where one of my HR directors, who just came back from maternity leave, said, Yves, I'd love to come, but Felix would like to come as well. I said, Felix? Felix is 6 months old. He said, yeah, can Felix come as well? I said, fine. If the Prime Minister of New Zealand can do it, then Hyatt can do it. So things have changed. We had to become more efficient. We had to start working differently. We had to provide flexibility. Our biggest hotel in Étoile in Paris, they have implemented a system where students can work shifts and they select shifts on their mobile phone on an hourly basis. They say, okay, I come in, I help clearing linen, 1 hour, I have time today. This was unthinkable 3 years ago. So I think human centricity also means starting to think differently. How can we look after our people? How can we take care of them and provide them a working environment that actually makes them stay and come back and have fun working in this industry again? Educate leaders on how to lead differently, become more flexible, implement equity principles. I mean, to go back to your example with the dog, maybe if this is what it takes, I bring my dog to work sometimes, only on Sundays when nobody sees me. But I think things have changed. And I think human centricity is all about focusing on what's truly important and making work fun again.
Thank you. In your answers, I mean, there is a strong, let's say, a component that goes through. You talked about authenticity, Xenia, and you talked about, Philippe, of being you. This only works when you have an all-encompassing system, right? Infrastructure, as you, Yves, have said, right? So it's about being able to bring people with their full selves, but we have to have an infrastructure or system that allows that. And clearly, the one who's going to be able to do that is really the leaders, as yourself here. So thank you very much for sharing that. And my last question, and before ending, we will be opening afterwards to the questions of the audience. Moving forward into the future, now that we have actually defined a human centricity and how we can do that in the company, moving forward into the future, we can predict that the gap between truly purpose-driven, human-centric companies versus those who conduct business as usual will widen and deepen. The benefits of human-centric companies are evident. As you have said, attracting and retaining talent across all levels and businesses. What is needed to start this human-centric transformation and drive it consistently? In other words, where do we start and how do we do it? What might be the pitfalls to watch out for and how can we cope with them?
Maybe I start now. Eating to your 2 minutes. It's a little chicken and egg, right? Are you going to set up your systems first or are you going to educate your leaders first? But I think everything has to happen. I think you have to... Leaders create cultures, but cultures can only thrive if your processes and systems are aligned as well. We embarked on a journey to become a purpose-driven company now 12 years ago, and we're still on it. And we learned the hard way that we can't just go out and tell people, this is our purpose, this is what we want to do, if we're not ready to change the things behind the scenes as well. The basic processes, the way I do a business plan, the way I do purchasing, the way I hire people, the way I interview people. So we have to pull all those levers and get the company purpose ready. And then start educating leaders, really understanding on what does it mean, human centricity, purpose, and bringing purpose to life in any interaction, in any decision. And it doesn't mean that you can't take tough decisions. You know? I think it was Aristotle who said it's a sign of an educated mind if you can entertain a thought without believing in it. But I think purpose is also about, you have to live your purpose, but you have to take tough decisions sometimes. That's part of it. But everything has to go hand in hand. Your systems, your leadership, your processes, if you want to make it work and you want to make it sustainable.
Can I add to that? I think that's a really good point, and it comes back a little bit to the last panel about greenwashing. It's the same with the people bit. You can't claim that you're people-centric or that you have a purpose and then not live it, because you get caught out. So maybe let's call it people-washing in that case, right? I think if you do that, it's exactly that point. You need to make sure that you take everyone on the journey, because, and you guys are young, so forgive us. We started our careers in a very different environment where certain things were expected of us that are no longer expected of the younger generation. But we take longer to adapt because we're older, so older people take longer to change, apparently. But anyway, so I think that has to come from both generations. There has to be a mutual understanding. We are understanding the way that you want to work. The younger generation feels they want to work. They want to put their passions into something. They want to have a purpose. And we need to start to learn to adapt to that, right? And a lot of people that have made it to general manager level are more or less our age group, I would say, right? So, but you're quite right. You need to take them on the journey, the leaders. You need to coach them. You need to make them understand that a tattoo is now okay. When we grew up, when we started our careers, it was a no-go. There were certain things we had to wear, we had to do, we had to be like. So again, it's a transformational process, and you need to make sure that literally everybody is taken on the journey. Otherwise, you're going to fail.
That's a very interesting topic. I wish we had an hour or so to cover this, but I agree wholeheartedly with everything that's been said here. It's a journey, and it's definitely a chicken and egg thing. And there's two components that I will add to that. Leadership obviously is key. I remember the first time I was promoted as a manager, and I was an assistant manager in the front desk somewhere in Asia. And the first time I was confronted with an employee who was supposed to report to me and who basically didn't follow what I asked him to do. And I had that moment thinking, what is leadership, and what am I doing here? I have a shirt with a different color. Does that make me a leader? I think we have a responsibility as organizations also to ensure the leaders that we put in certain place are prepared for this. And yes, there are things that you read in books. There are things that you learn in class. There are things that you learn by practicing. I think it's very important, how to have a difficult conversation with an employee. We have a responsibility to prepare our employees so that they can be the leader who are going to walk the talk and who are going to support, all these important foundations that we've described. So preparing leadership for that, preparing them for authentic leadership, truly. And secondly, it's a dirty topic, but we have to talk about it. Incentives have to be aligned with this, because at the end of the day, we're consciously or unconsciously, we're driven by incentives. So I'm incentivized on the energy consumptions in my hotel. My hotel in 2023 is going to increase its activity by 10%, but I'm incentivized to keep the energy consumption at the same level as it was last year. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm incentivized to do that. And 32 of my employees, or managers rather, at the hotel are incentivized in the same manner. So there's the energy consumption. There is, also at Hyatt employee survey. So the employee satisfaction is key, and we are incentivized on this. So this is very important. It's been there for a while, but it continues to be important. So these two central elements: training, making sure we have the right leaders, and having incentivized methods that support these foundations.
Right, thank you very much for that. So in a nutshell, it seems that clearly in order to be able to embed this human centricity, a company needs to go into a transformation, a journey, whereby you have to have the leadership on board, but everything has to go hand in hand. That means that the systems, part of it is the incentives, clearly, right? So there has to be coherency and consistency across, meaning that you say what you do and you do what you say.
But may I add, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We are all in hospitality. And I think many of you in this room are or will be in hospitality. This is the true foundation of this business. It's just about remembering what we are here for. We're here to serve people. We're here to welcome people. And we're here to give people a great experience, which is the best job in the world. You know, this is the best. So it's truly about finding again back our foundation and what this business is truly about.
Yeah, and that foundation that applies not only to the customers, to the employees first. All right, thank you so much for that. Now we're going to open for questions. So please go ahead and you can join us at Slido, and I'll be reading the question out loud. Don't be shy. We have around 7.5 minutes. So let me read that question, and you can vote as well. The golden rule at FS, the motto at the RC, these are real examples of how people are so valuable. Is brand culture the key to have a higher retention rate?
Is brand culture the key? It's one of the foundation to have a higher retention rate, I believe. But having a rule or a motto is only half of it. You need to exercise it, and as Yves mentioned, it needs to be practiced in everything you do. Otherwise, people feel that it's fake. So it needs to be authentic, and it needs to be exercised at every level of the organization.
Do you like to
Can
respond?
No, I was going to take the next question.
Right, I'll read that for you. Do you think the individualistic nature of today's generation makes it more difficult to create a work environment that is desirable?
So I think that, I don't know whether I would, as today's generation, you should probably rebel against that question. But I think one of the basic human attributes that we have is we thrive through collaboration. So yes, there is a more, in this generation, and driven mainly by social media, you have this ability to shine as an individual more than we had it at our time. So I think that can be used. I think the shining of the individual, the ideas of the individual can be harnessed to then maximize it in collaboration. I do think hospitality is about collaboration. It is about what you just said. You know, it's the best job in the world if you are able to give somebody a good time. That's not something that you do alone. That's only something you can do if the chef has done his job, if the housekeeping has done their job, if whoever picked them up from the airport has done their job. It's a collaboration. And I think there is no better feeling in my mind, and one of our core values at our company is collaborate, is when you do a project jointly, even if there have been some individuals that might have had better ideas.
Well, I can take the top trending question here. How can hospitality businesses balance making work fun and maintaining brand standards and images? Well, I've just completed 30 years with Hyatt, and every day has been fun. And I think it's less about the brand standards, but it's about the brand delivery. And brand delivery is about authenticity. So I believe this goes really well together. You know, we want our colleagues to deliver the brand, to have fun delivering the brand, being able to connect with each other, with their colleagues, with their guests, with the communities, and through that actually then deliver the brand experience. So I think this is very compatible, making work fun, make it authentic, and then actually really have a high quality brand delivery. I think this goes absolutely hand in hand.
And brand standards can be fun as well. I don't think there's a contradiction there. Although then I'm thinking, I checked out from a hotel this morning, and I was asked the question that you're always asked: "How was your stay?" And that question doesn't really excite me. It's sort of a standard, but there's ways that this can be addressed in a more human way. If you really want to know, I think this can be asked in different ways. So I think it's about encouraging people, again, to be themselves and ask the question genuinely as a person rather than speak as a puppet. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's take the next one. As students, are there action items we can take to pressure companies to treat their employees the way they should be treated?
Sounds like a protest.
Walk with your feet. Yes. Walk with your feet. Don't join a company where you feel employees are not treated well. Don't sign the offer and don't sign the contract.
But I think also research. So when you're going out and you're looking for jobs, and you go for job interviews, you're also allowed to ask questions. So ask those questions. If it says on the website, we are a people-centric business, what do you do for your people? Is there anything I can be involved in? It's really about asking questions. And that will give you the answers that potentially will help you make the right choices as well.
Yeah, no, fully agree. And, be the change you want to see as well, right? Maybe you're the one who's going to join a company and say, okay, I'm going to be the kind of leader that takes care of my employees. But yeah, fully agree. I think there was a very wise man who hired me and probably you as well, Philippe, at the time. And he told us at the time it was called the 3 Swiss francs technique. And what it meant is you sit in the lobby of a hotel, you order yourself a coffee for 3 francs, and you observe the environment. And if you feel this is an environment where people are taken care of, they're clean uniforms, people are smiling, they're talking to each other, then that's the kind of company you want to join. If not, don't join them.
I think the question about the acting. Oh no, we've got more likes for the next one.
Yeah, wait. Okay. So, would you support employees' transfers across the hotels and countries, or emphasize the importance of growing in one place?
Ooh. Now, you had asked me that question 15, 20 years ago. I say, absolutely. People have to change and travel and move countries. I think there's a lot of value in being exposed to different communities, different cultures. My wife and I, we've lived and worked in 12 different countries, and that was a very, very rich experience. But there's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to travel as much. I think it is possible. I think there's value in seeing other properties and being exposed to different brands. But you can absolutely make a career as well staying in one place. And it also helps from a diversity perspective that some people don't want to relocate their family all over the place. So I think a career is possible with both ways, but changing into different contexts can be a very enriching experience.
Agree.
Would you like to add anything else to that? Or I'm going to have one last question. Okay, one last question. All right. Where did it go?
We learned the importance.
We learned the importance of deep acting in the industry. Would you say that a BU leaves that aspect completely out?
So I'm somebody who went to acting school. So I'm going to take this question. I think it doesn't. I think, yes, of course you need to act. A hotel is like a stage. It really is. And you do have to act. And there are days that potentially not. I'm not sure I believe your theory that every day at work is fun. But I do think that, yes, acting helps. And that, as I said, you can create it as a stage. But it's back to the spirit of hospitality. If you are passionate about giving people a good time, then that's always a part of you, is always going to be in that. So the interaction with the guests and potentially also the interaction with your colleagues is about who you are. And does acting help you sometimes get over situations? Absolutely. But I think the real spirit of hospitality is when you put your passion in it.
And authenticity beats perfection every single time.
Day, yeah.
So before we end, and we're at like 8 seconds late, I would like to give you just something that you would like to share, one thing, just really quickly regarding this topic, out of the top of your mind, of what we have discussed here, the questions from me, the question from the audience, just one thing that is truly important for you.
No, I will repeat myself that, this is the best job possible. I receive guest feedback from their wedding. And for example, we host weddings, we host social events, and I guess, some emails, some letters that I get from guests are truly heartwarming. The most incredible letter I ever received was now about 25 years ago from the wife of someone who passed away in one of the hotel where I worked. Now, while this is very sad news, we were able to play a role in that very difficult moment. So we're there in difficult moments. We're there in the happiest moment. And I think it's truly magic to work in an environment where we can do that. And last but not least, I think, Yves mentioned about having fun. What I always tell people, there's a double thing that I mentioned at the Embark, at the first day of work for all employees, is make sure to have fun and learn. It's important. And I think as human beings, we want to have fun and we want to learn. And it's always important to continue this journey onwards. So good luck to all of you who have graduated, who will graduate. And I look forward to working with some of you in the near future. Thank you.
Xenia and Yves?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would mirror that as well. I think, it is a very unique industry, and even though I don't work in hotels every day anymore as a consultant, I dip in and out. But every time I'm in a hotel, I do get that buzz. And I think either it's something that you are passionate about, and if you are passionate about it, how lucky. And I think also how lucky, travel and hospitality goes together. If you're somebody who wants to see the world, what better industry to work in, quite frankly. You lived in 12 countries, I lived in, 7, I've lost count. But you learn so much, and the intercultural experience is so unique and so special also by guests coming into your industry. Enjoy it, make the most of it.
Great, thank you.
Didn't really, not needed.
No, maybe it's something personal for me. I mean, I've been developing leaders for years, and I think the one thing I really learned is that as a human-centric leader, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be kind. It's okay to be empathetic. And I think that's the kind of leaders that the world needs in the future.
All right, and on that note, we're going to end. So thank you so much to Yves, to Xenia, and to Philippe. A warm, big applause to our panelists, and thank you very much, audience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give one last big round of applause to Dr. Kim and our wonderful panelists.